featuring your host, Dr. Alex Rosa. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome to In Your Business with Dr. Alex, where we get all up in your business and your health. Enjoy live interviews and solo sessions with experts in business and health, featuring your host, Dr. Alex Rosa. Let's get into today's episode.
Hey, familia. Welcome to In Your Business with Dr. Alex, where we get all up in your business and your health. And today I have an amazing guest. We're going to talk about self-love, sexiness, and Valentine's Day. So I'm excited for today's conversation. She is a certified sex health coach. So much goodness today. So if you are tuning in, definitely let us know where in this whole wide world that you are tuning in from. Definitely leave some info in the chat for us. I'd love to give you a shout out. And this is going to be interactive, so feel free to ask questions, and that is all a part of it. And if you don't want to ask questions, I'll leave our contact info in there, so you can definitely DM us with any specific questions that you have. But before we get into today's episode, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Mr. Eric McKee. He is a realtor here in Northeast Ohio, so definitely contact him if you have any realty needs. I'm going to put his info up here real quickly for it. So we thank him so much for allowing us to bring you this really great content. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my beautiful, fantastic, wonderful guest up, Miss Heather Tucker, and she is our sex coach for today. Hey, girl.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to switch us around here, actually. Yep, we're going to whoop, whoop, do a little switch. So, Miss Heather, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really, really appreciate it. I love it. Thank you for being here with us. And why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about you and your background? I'd love to learn more.
Oh, of course. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such a great pleasure. And you and I have been really getting to know each other on the back end. And you're just such an incredible woman. And I'm so honored just to be here with you and with your audience and everyone today. So yes, my name is Heather, if we were just meeting, and I'm a certified Christian sex coach. And how I got into that is I grew up in a very strict religious home where the sex conversation was just not a comfortable thing to talk about at all. Anytime I had questions, my mom was like, shh, we don't talk about that. Or she would just like freak out and be like, what? Where did you hear, this and this and this, if I came and asked her a question? And so because of that, I carried around a lot of shame and a lot of guilt for even feeling sexual because I did feel my sexuality from a very, very young age. I've always been very in tune with that part of myself, but because it was uncomfortable in the household and because I would hear different things in the church, like we don't talk about that, or they would say different things like, oh, look at that girl over there. Look at how slutty she's dressed. Good Christian girls don't dress like that. As a matter of fact, if I wore this to church today, even, they would say, this is too much skin. This is too sexy. Christian girls should not be sexy. They should be this wholesome, revered, like clothing up to the neck, no skin, showing all the way down to the ankles. Yes. And so because I grew up like that, it just made my marriage really difficult in the beginning. My husband, we got married, and he's like, okay, you can like pop out now. You can be this sexual beast. God says it's okay in his word. So, like, why aren't
Mhm.
you comfortable walking around the house naked? Or
Mhm.
why aren't you comfortable wearing lingerie or doing different positions in the bed and all these different things? And it was so hard to go from no, 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 you can't. That's dirty and evil. And you're
Mhm.
opening up demonic forces from several different things I heard over the years to then it being like just overnight, like,
Mhm.
okay, like it can't happen like that. So we went on a huge journey ourselves. We went through 12 years of sexlessness, my husband and I, while we were married.
Mhm.
Very difficult, very dark period of time. And there's a huge story behind that. I wrote a book about it and everything that you can find on Amazon. But after that, I was like, I don't want another, especially female, to ever feel like she has to hide or dim
Mhm.
her sexuality light, because so many of us that are married are doing that. And even people that are not married are doing that. Like
Mhm.
singles that are out dating and then they decide to have sex with somebody, even in a single state, you can feel super dirty and gross, and you have a lot of shame around that because of so many things that we were taught in the church and in culture and from society and just like our parents and everything. So that's me. And I've been a sex coach now for almost 10 years and have worked with almost 17,000 couples over the years, just different platforms, one-on-one, uh, group calls, speaking on stage, like all these different things at church retreats and stuff. And
Mhm.
I love what I do because I'm helping to bring freedom to the bedroom, which is what God intended all along.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. How have you found churches receive you? Do they usually like reach out to you, or are you like, hey, this is what I talk about. Are you interested? Like, how does that all like happen?
Yeah, most of the time it's me. As a matter of fact, the church that I've been going to for years, they didn't like when they found out what I was doing, because they follow church
Mhm.
members on social
Yeah.
media, and
Mhm.
they will bring you into the office like you should not be talking about this stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
So when the pastor had a problem with it, I said, you know what? This is you, not God. What you're saying is not actually biblical. It's just your
Mhm.
opinion and your uncomfortableness, probably around your own sexuality. So I'm just
Mhm.
going to say bye. And now I go to church online as
Mhm.
far as
Oh,
attendance. And
yeah.
then when I'm looking for places to speak, I will be the one to reach out. Most of them will not receive me on the front end. They think that when I say the word sex, that it's going to automatically bring in like some like the real grungy, kind of like porn,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
they think it's going to be like sex equals, me taking my clothes off and like teaching a class or something.
Mhm. Yeah.
When really it's just I'm talking about my story and
Mhm.
helping other people to feel comfortable and technically saving a lot of freaking marriages. So like why wouldn't
Mhm.
they want me to come in? But what I found actually works a lot better is starting at the smaller level. So if
Mhm.
I meet, let's say, a woman that has her own business, or she has her own Facebook group, or she has like a women's empowerment group, or like a really mini Bible study, like a women's Bible study group,
Mhm.
and the females want to get more comfortable talking to sex with their spouse, they'll bring me in that way, and then that's how I've then gotten to the bigger, then the bigger churches are welcoming in, because then they can get the experience from the small, and then that group leader says no, she's legit, like we need to get her in here, and then so that's been how it's worked for me. uh
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, so cool. So you know what I was thinking about when you were talking about saving marriages, saving sexless marriages. And I know how like taboo divorce can be in certain religions and all of that. And so I guess my thing is, why wouldn't more people want to talk about that and bring you in when that is such a huge cause of divorce and unhappy marriages and all of that, when just that one part that we can fix.
Right.
And I don't know if you have any like maybe words of advice just around that or around some of the work that you've done just specifically with that.
Sure. As far as how to get started on helping a sexless marriage.
Yeah, like if maybe some of the like how women approach you about it, or how you find out that some women are like struggling with this, and then how you kind of
Mhm.
bring up the conversation and how that goes.
Got it. Well, one on one, when I'm talking to somebody, if I just go out with a girlfriend and we're having coffee,
Mhm.
she'll normally bring it up and she'll say, like, I'm so embarrassed to talk about this,
Mhm.
but I saw what you posted online and
Mhm.
your story really struck me. And this is actually what my husband and I are going through right now. And I don't feel like I can go and talk to a regular counselor about it. They feel very, very shy and they feel comfortable with me because I'm out here talking about it so freely.
Mhm. Oh, I love that. So how can a woman start to develop a positive relationship with their own sexuality, their own self-image? And I know with like Valentine's Day coming up, and this is what gave me the idea for today's show, because I saw you had posted something about, like being your own Valentine. And for me, so much of what I teach is, really loving yourself and caring for yourself. And when the health journey really starts with owning yourself. And that's such a huge part of it. And so, yeah, I think everybody thinks, oh, I need a boyfriend or a girlfriend for Valentine's Day and blah, blah, blah. And even to be sexual or enjoy sex and all of that, like we need somebody else. It's like you have to feel that way first
Mm.
within. So I was wondering if you could really talk a little bit about that, and how, if a woman was watching this and tuning in today or listening whenever they might be, how can they really start to develop that relationship with themselves?
Yeah. I wish society would normalize dating ourselves, because all of the commercials and the movies and everything around Valentine's Day, you always see a partner. Like there's
Mhm.
always somebody. And then it shows a woman so freaking depressed if she doesn't have a partner and she's sitting at
Mhm.
home. Like Bridget Jones' Diary. I remember when I first watched that movie and I was like, man, I've had nights like that where I was just in the whole ice cream tub and just feeling so bad about myself because I didn't have a boyfriend,
Mhm.
that would actually love on me, that would then make me feel loved. But what I
Mhm.
actually have discovered over the years, and I really didn't discover this until I was in my 40s. I wish that I knew about this stuff in my 20s, because I don't think I date some of the people that I had dated, because I was so desperate for love and just to feel
Yeah.
love. But now I understand that we have everything within us to have the feeling of love. We just have to cultivate it. And
Mhm.
so we can cultivate it by telling ourselves, I love you. Like I literally will stand in front of the mirror. And you could
Mhm.
do this as a married person or a single person, and look yourself in the eyes, because you do have to get comfortable with your own self and what you're actually seeing coming out from your
Mhm.
soul. And if you're having a hard time looking at yourself in the eyes, it might point to some internal work that needs to get done,
Mhm.
because a lot of
Mhm.
times if we're uncomfortable looking at either our own eyes or someone else looking right at our eyes,
Mhm.
it's because something is uncomfortable and something's broken that needs to just be, healed. But you can actually stand in front of the mirror and just say, like, I love you, Heather, or like
Mhm.
Dr. Alex, I love you, Dr. Alex. You're so kick ass. Like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Look at that black hair. Look at that earrings. You're so hot.
Mhm.
Like, you can totally talk to yourself.
Yes, I
And
do.
the
I
more,
totally do.
and the more that like you do,
Mhm.
that's the thing. You might not believe it at first, but like the more that you actually speak positivity over yourself, it will become something natural that you're hearing, and then you'll start to believe it. And it just feels amazing. And I even do this with my workouts, Dr. Alex. I'll be like, do my workout, right? And
Mhm.
then it'll say like, go take a 60-second break or whatever. So I'll like walk around my room, and then I'll go up to the mirror and I'll be like, woohoo! And I'll like high five myself.
Yes, yes.
No one else is around. Like, I don't want to wait for someone else to celebrate me. Like,
Mhm.
I want to celebrate myself. So that's what everyone needs to do, whether you're married or not, is give yourself permission to just love yourself. And if you can look up, if you guys are Bible believers, if you look up Psalms 139, God talks about how he on purpose knit us together inside our mother's womb. And so every single thing about us, our eye color, our hair texture, how short, how tall, our body size, everything that is us is on purpose. So why would we want to complain about it or spit in the mirror about or talk bad about it? It's like you're spitting in God's face over his creation that he did on purpose. And God does not make mistakes. So as soon as we can own that and truly like, God made me like this on purpose. And if I do feel my sexuality trying to like bust out, that's God giving me the approval, like, girl, or boy, it's your time. Like, this is your time to really, truly discover who you really are, what turns you on, what gets you aroused, you know, how you like to be touched and how you like to touch. I mean, it all goes together, but it does have to start with us inside.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. And I was just going to ask next, because my next kind of question was, how do you become more confident and comfortable in your body, but with your sexual desires? Like if those feelings start to come up, because I know, because I too was raised in the church girl, Catholic and all that.
Oh,
I
yes.
had,
Now,
and
see, you guys
like,
are way more strict than born again
and
Christians.
and I had so many family members who were like Pentecostal and just like we had everything. And I you know, as a young girl, like I did vacation Bible school at different, you know, going different family members churches, so feeling this out, feeling that out. And it's like as soon as those feelings like start to come up, like it took me a very long time, yeah, to get through that, because I had always fought when I was younger, same thing, like had always felt those feelings, but then
Right.
I was going back to like church and be like, no girl, you can't think like that, you can't you know. And so definitely as a woman though, I've definitely grown out all of that, like I love all of this. So but when those feelings start to come up, like
I love
I
you,
know
Dr.
a lot of
Alex.
women girl, you know what? I had went and got a photo shoot done not too long ago, but just a regular photo shoot, not sexy photo shoot, not yet. But I went and got a regular one. And I remember the photographer, she commented to me, she was like, she was like, I can tell you love your body, like you love the way you look. And I was like, yes, girl, I do. Like I
Yeah.
love all of the pieces and parts of me. And it felt so good for her, like to hear her say that, because I knew I felt that way, but for somebody else to notice, that was like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
But then too, I kind of felt bad because I was like, how many other women don't say that
No.
about themselves or don't feel that way? And what a
Well,
shame.
and she probably sees that more every day. People feeling very uncomfortable in their skin and,
Mhm.
you know, wanting to hide themselves and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's probably what she noticed about you, is that you stood out, you know, in
Mm.
comparison to the other women that she
Mhm.
works with.
Yeah, so that was really great. But and working with women and their health and with what you do and what I do, you know, it's all about bringing that inner woman up to the
Yeah.
surface and being okay with all of that. Yeah, because I talk about sexual health, you talk about sexual health, like it's such a huge part of who we are as women, and it can
Yes.
so much of like the whole world is
And
telling you,
men, by the
yeah,
way,
oh
men
yeah,
too.
amen,
Men
yeah,
too. Yeah. We
yeah.
can't leave out the dudes.
Equal opportunity here, honey. We love everybody. We love everybody. So what are some so when working with women in the church, especially, I think this can be really applied to this next question I have, to kind of that, what are like some misconceptions about being sexy, feeling sexy, that people have, and how can they kind of work through that? Are there some common things you hear, like that when people start talking about sex or their sexuality, and what do you kind of tell them to get them out of that?
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about Rihanna. This just came up yesterday.
Yeah.
So she's on stage, you know, she's doing her
Yeah.
thing, and she's doing her thing while she's pregnant. And a lot
Mhm.
of the hater stuff that is coming out right now is from men that
Mhm.
are uncomfortable with the fact that she's on stage being sexy while she's pregnant. So that right there is one of the stigmas that has been around for a very long time, that women can be sexy, but as soon as you become a mom, or like if I'm the husband and you're my wife that's pregnant, now you got to take that sexy stuff off the table,
Mhm.
because now you're a mom. So now you have to step into the role of just being a mom. And that is absolutely incorrect. That is false information that, again, society has put on women. And it's not cool, you know? And so this shows up in society, this shows up in the church, it shows up in different cultures. Probably you've heard something from your grandparents, you know, that might have said something like if you wore something like a skirt too short to school, or, you know, your dad maybe said like, you can't wear that on a date, you're just asking for it. Like when did like dressing up sexy automatically mean I'm asking for it? Like, why can't we as women show off our womanly curves and be super, super comfortable with our sexiness and our sexuality without it meaning that you have to rip off my clothes? Like, it doesn't equal sex. But society has put that on us. So, of course, now women have to be more careful and choosy about what we put on and what we wear because of, you know, some bad apples, you know, in the men. So, you know, that's unfortunate, but it really does, again, take some inner belief work, and you have to really deprogram the subconscious belief systems that have been put over you as a man or a woman, that you can't be a believer and sexual at the same time. You can. God actually created it to go together, but because we grew up with it feeling like it had to be separate, it's a little bit harder for us to like grasp that you can actually do it together.
Yeah, and going back to that Rihanna thing, like, she was like entirely, not that it matters, but like she was entirely covered up head to toe, like the entire with a coat on for, you know, for the show, and it's like, and she's still too sexy. Like, it's so it's so ridiculous. It's so absolutely ridiculous. I feel like that's like the most beautiful time, like one of the most beautiful times when
Yeah.
when you're pregnant, and it's just like, it's such a shame. But yeah, I was like, you go ahead, you go do your outfit and dance and do what you want to do, because it really doesn't matter. You know, it's just such a shame.
Well,
But
people like
yeah.
her and Lizzo and Beyonce, like, you know, so many powerful women that are on stages, whether they're musicians or even inspirational TED Talk speakers. I mean, there's a lot of women in the last, you know, I don't know, 5-10 years that are helping other women to give themselves permission to fully unleash their sexuality. And that's a huge part of my work too, because they see, you know, the damage that can actually come and brought into marriages, or, you know, brought into society where people feel so much shame. And when you feel shame, you can't even get comfortable with your body. Like, if you're like, I know one of your questions was going to be about like, how can you fully step in, you know? Well, it's going to be a lot more difficult if you're carrying around shame or guilt from a sexual experience, if you've been through abuse, if you've grown up in the church and these belief systems were put on you. So it's not going to happen overnight. Like, you have to do the internal deprogramming, the subconscious rewiring, like figure out a way to reprogram your transmitters, so that you can actually form new, more powerful belief systems. That's when the sense of freedom comes in. And that's when you can actually fully feel your sexuality, and then take action with your partner or by yourself to, I don't know, to experiment, you know, and just to have fun with it. Try it out. Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, take off the training wheels and like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I think this goes nicely to the next question I was going to ask you is, you know, especially as like women, because like the women that I work with, right, 40 and up crowd, right, we're going through different changes in our life. We're going through menopause. We have older children. Well, I've got a 5-year. I'm 40, almost 41. I've got a 5-year-old, so he's younger, because I know women are having babies at different ages now, and just the stages of life are so different. And how have you noticed sexuality changing as you get older, as you experience different life events, different stressors in your life? How does sexuality kind of change, and how can women be a little bit more flexible? I'm gonna use the word flexible. Flexible. I help women get more flexible too.
How can we still do the splits at 80?
How
Yeah,
how can we just be more adaptable? All these words, girl,
yeah.
are just meaning two different things.
I
So I know
know.
that.
I love it because I love it because I'm even going through this myself right now. Like I'm going to be 50 this year. And yes, and my body has changed a lot. Like I can tell that my body is getting ready to do something because the monthlies are all wackadoo, and they used to be very on time, and now they're here or there and last forever, and I mean, or they don't come. I mean, it's just really crazy. So I believe that as long as we stay in tune with our own body and we take time to touch ourselves and to be with ourselves at every single stage of our life, we're going to know what is happening. And then once we understand what's happening, we can better communicate that to our partners so that they can, as a team, come together and keep us, emotionally connected and sexually connected at all phases of our life and our relationships. But if you're not spending time with yourself, how are you even going to know what feels good to you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge part of understanding your sexuality, is that you have to spend time with yourself. And you could do that in front of the mirror. You can get naked in front of the mirror and just look at your body and touch your body and see what feels good. You can do it in the bath. I like to do it in the bath because the warm water is very relaxing, and it helps to actually break through some of those weird stigmas that can come up in the mind when you're feeling like more relaxed. In the bath, you tend to be able to kind of like go over the hump of the stigma.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that if this is new for you, take a bath while you're, getting to know yourself sexually. But yeah, all phases are going to be different. You're going to be, more wet at certain phases, and you're going to be more dry at certain phases. And even at certain phases, I have to be careful about the words we say, but the walls, okay, of the actual hole. Okay, I hope you know what I'm talking about.
I know, we
The
know what you're talking about.
walls of the actual hole, as you get older, they can shrink like this. And so there's different things that you could do so that's not as painful when your partner is inside. So yeah, but you're not going to know that unless you're spending time with yourself.
Yeah. And I think too, the timing of how you said, like during bath time, like if you're showering or during a bath, like, and plus, your body equates being naked to taking a bath, to bathing. So then, cause that can just being naked for some people can be a huge barrier. And it's like, well, why am I even like standing here naked? And like, so like what? So if you're getting ready to take a shower or bathe, like then your mind kind of automatically has already overcame that hurdle right there. So that can help too. And I think allowing yourself, like, it's okay to touch yourself. Like, hello, ladies, if you're listening to, or guys too. I feel like, well, that may be so stereotypical, but like guys and touching themselves, it's like, okay, guys do that. But like for women to touch themselves, it's like so many women are not
Yeah, that's
comfortable.
because pleasure
Yeah.
has been equated to men for
Yeah.
all these years. So it's like, women, what women? You don't have pleasure. You just make us babies. Like
Right.
what? Like God literally gave us a part of our body that has over 8,000 nerve endings. That's just for pleasure alone, and we can actually be the one to put our hand down there and bring us our self pleasure. We don't need a man for that.
Yeah, you don't need no man.
So,
Yeah, and yeah, getting to know, and I think too, at every stage of your life, and I think this is what is so important for women to understand, because your body is changing. You go through puberty and you turn from a girl to a woman. You go in through puberty, and so then when you go through menopause, you're going backwards through that, and you're going to a different stage of your life, and you have babies wreck all pieces and parts of your inside, and things are not where they used to be, and things are different. And that's a whole nother thing. Like sex after baby is a huge
right.
other thing.
Oh yeah.
Sex after menopause, a whole nother thing. And but you're still up here, here, you're still the same woman. It's just finding what feels right and what gets you going, what turns you on, what gets the juices flowing. That's the more intimate work that you have to do. And you have to talk with, if you're with a partner, you have to talk with your partner, let them know how you're feeling, your concerns. And that's a whole nother show episode, girl, just on all of that. But yeah, and there's a lot of things you can do health wise, because a lot of things that I talk about with women, like using collagen and using just food as medicine. I'm not into using all the drugs and medications for a lot of that stuff, because a lot of that stuff we can do naturally. But a
Yep.
lot of it does come down to the emotional, the mental, the spiritual
Yep.
type stuff that you're working through,
Mhm.
that can make all the difference there. But yeah, I think just because you reach a certain age doesn't mean the lights turn off and you got to close up shop. Never, never, never.
No, I mean, that's a stigma as well. And,
Mhm.
what's really amazing is I watch my mom, who's over 80,
Mhm.
and she still can get herself really juicy. And
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
no, she can still climax. So
Mhm.
it's not like the climax goes away. So you
Mhm.
still feel pleasure all the way until you die.
Mhm. So
It,
girl, tell me how that conversation goes with your mom.
No, I love it. We used to not be able to talk about this
Uh-huh.
stuff. She was
Yeah.
the one that made it uncomfortable. But
Oh.
see, that's because she grew up under a household where
Mhm.
her parents were missionaries, so they like never they never talked about this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, how you grow up is how you raise, your kids, unless you learn a better way, from
Mhm.
experience. So she didn't know. She was just doing the same thing that her mom, did. And
Mhm.
so now, though, especially because of the work that I do,
Mhm.
we have amazing conversations now. She comes to me and she talks to me about, whatever it is, with a partner or not with a partner, and then I talk to her about, my marriage, and
Mhm.
very open dialogue, and we're laughing, and so it's a great relationship now.
Mhm.
But we had to go through that uncomfortability, and her seeing me be comfortable talking about it, and her seeing how many marriages that I've helped and how many women that I've
Mhm.
been able to help with them getting to know their bodies, because
Mhm.
I do this whole pleasure audit that I do with my clients.
Ooh.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's the very first thing that we do, and I actually do this with men too. So if they come in as a couple, we can do it with them together. But
Mhm.
it's amazing because most of us have not spent that amount of time on our bodies.
Mhm.
We just
Yep.
sort of wing it and hope for the best. So now I can talk to her because she's seen me be more comfortable. It's given her permission to be more comfortable talking to me about things. So it's going to spread out. Like, the comfortability of the sex conversation will spread out, but it does take each and every single one of us to talk more about it.
Mhm.
That is what's going to break the stigma.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of what is out there in society kind of tells you what you should like. Like, this is what you should like. And this is what's normal. And this is what's not normal. And don't like this because that's kind of weird. And only weirdos like that. Like, that's all the stuff that I could see in my brain. Like, and each person is unique. And
Yeah.
there's nothing right, wrong, nothing. It's whatever works for you. And also, when it comes to talking
Mhm.
about this kind of stuff, and unfortunately, I think for a lot of women especially, and guys too, well, guys too, because how many ed commercials are there out there, like going and talking to your physician, to your healthcare provider about your sexual problems can sometimes be really difficult, and you don't even know like where to start, how
Doctors
to
make it
start the
uncomfortable.
conversation.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then too, again, it's the, well, let's just give you this pill for this,
Yeah.
instead of recommending somebody like you to speak to that could work through a lot of that stuff, that it's doesn't have anything to do with medication. It just has to
No,
do
it
with
really
a
doesn't.
lot of the other issues that you have. So
My husband my
I love
husband is
what
easy too. Like, him
Mhm,
and I work together on his ED stuff. But
mhm,
my husband's also very overweight, so
mhm,
weight comes into play a lot
mhm,
in the bedroom. And when
mhm,
we're carrying extra weight, it crushes the libido, and it does all these different things and makes it hard to climax. And so, I mean,
mhm,
really, it boils down to, like, let's figure out a way to take care of our health.
mhm,
And when our health is out of whack, our sexual health is going to take a hit. When our sexual health is out of whack, our regular health stuff is going to take a hit. So it
mhm,
all balances. It's like the chakras. The
mhm.
sexual health piece is one of the chakras. So if you're
Yep.
ignoring that piece, everything else is just going to be wackadoo.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah. And I have to say, I love watching your workout little videos that you put up. I love those. I love those. Because you had one just the other day about like, can working out help with was it with climaxing?
Sex
Did you have
drive.
it with sexual
Well,
arousal?
no, it does help with your sex drive. So if the libido
Mhm.
is low, this, and
Mhm.
especially after you have kids, it
Yeah.
takes a little bit to figure out how to get the arousal back. But working out can definitely help. And of
Mhm.
course, the Kegel exercises and doing more crunches and mindset work. Sometimes we have to do that. We can be a sexual beast still while being a
Yeah.
mom. So sometimes we got to do that.
Yes, honey. I'm
So,
a beast. I'll wear that badge. I'm a beast. I'm a beast. I love it. Yes. Yeah. And there's like 3 kids. I got an 18, 15, and 5-year-old. And you better believe I still go out on dates all the time. I get dressed up. I wear my heels. I wear my sexy
yep.
stuff. And I absolutely love it. And I don't feel bad. I don't give a fuck about it. I don't care who has shit to say about it. It makes me feel good.
See, and
And
right there, that's what we have to do. Whatever makes you feel good.
mm-hmm,
This is how you go on the journey of owning your sexuality. You,
mm-hmm,
one, realize that God put whatever turns you on and brings you arousal, God put that in there on purpose. So now it's up to you to own that. And then the third thing is you have to learn how to communicate that to a partner,
mm-hmm,
especially.
mm-hmm,
And when you're in communication with your partner, you have to come to an agreement with your partner that you will not judge each other for whatever we're about to share. And
mm-hmm,
you'll let me know if you're open to doing some of these things with me. And if not, let's figure out a way that I can still tap into that. If you're not, quite comfortable yet, maybe I do it while you're laying next to me, so maybe you're not a participant, maybe you're just there in the room so that you can get comfortable. I mean, there's a lot of different ways for us to help our partners. But
mm-hmm.
the bottom line is, own your sexuality. Don't ever ask for forgiveness for it, because it's yours on purpose. And even if your partner is uncomfortable or other people are uncomfortable, don't shrink back and make them feel more comfortable. Don't hide, because then again, you're tapping more into the guilt and shame. And what you really need to do is figure out ways to release the shame and to walk more in freedom in the bedroom. And that's going to take you fully owning and living loud and proud your sexuality and what makes you feel loved in the bedroom and all these things, no matter what someone says or no matter how uncomfortable that they might feel.
Oh, I love that. What a great way I think that's a great ending for the show. I think that's good. That's a happy ending right there.
No point
I'm
intended.
no pun intended. That's an amazing message. I love it. So, Miss Heather, if somebody's and I'm actually going to restream this later on tonight too,
Oh,
because
cool.
I love this episode. So I'm going to restream it later tonight.
Awesome.
So if anybody's watching, listening, whenever on the live or the replay, where can they connect more with you? I know you have some books out there. What else can we know about you?
Yes, I would just go to my website, sexcoachheather.com. You
Mm-hmm.
can find the link to all of my books. You can find a link to book a coaching session, which, by the way, the first coaching session I give to you for free. So I give you the 30 minutes for free. We just identify what's happening in your relationship, and then I'll give you some tips on that first call, and then we can decide if we want to work together a little bit more. And then you can also find some information on how to book me as a speaker and take a look at some of my previous events and hear some of the topics that I've discussed.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So definitely hook up with Miss Heather. It's amazing. Check out her content. I absolutely love it. Find her on all the socials, all those good things. Yes, yes, yes. You need, oh, I love it. I can't even say enough. We definitely have to have another show because I love
Yes,
this.
please. This is fun.
I love it. All right, guys, that is all I have for today. And if you like the show, like I said, I know some of the stuff we talked about, you don't want to put in the comments, whatever, message us, find us on social, message us, and we don't mind talking about it. So we'll talk about
No,
it for sure.
love talking about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, happy Valentine's Day to you.
Yes.
And happy Valentine's Day to yourself. Love yourself. Be your own Valentine. Touch yourself, buy yourself a bunch of stuff, dress nice for yourself, whatever it is you want to do.
Yes, like buy
Do
your
it.
own flowers, buy your own
Yes, honey.
candy, take
Mm,
yourself out to the movies, take yourself out to dinner. Like
yeah,
there's so much that you can do. Oh, before we end, I do want to
yeah.
say one thing that's coming
Go
through right
for it.
now.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're single and
Mhm.
you're really wanting to attract a high value man or woman,
Mm-hmm.
The only way you're going to do that is if you get comfortable with dating yourself. When you are fully into who you are and you're out and you're living your life, you will become a magnet to draw in that high, powerful, version of somebody that you want to be with. So don't sit at home waiting for somebody and being all cryy and all of that. No, just go and live your life and love it and have so much fun. And I promise you will attract the person that God has for you.
Ah, I love it. I love it. All right, guys, that is all we have for today for In Your Business with Dr. Alex. So, like I always say, for a balanced life, just add spice. I'll catch you in the next episode.